News and views with myself, Salailo Makwidir. The time is 8:52, and we're going to switching gears now to I think a very very important story. It's been said that famine doesn't come with the sound of bombs, but in Gaza today, starvation is killing silently. It's killing methodically, um, and it is at a stage where it's more brutal than we've ever seen before. We're at a place where even aid workers themselves now stand in the same lines as the displaced, waiting for flour, waiting for scraps of food and whatever they can salvage. Parents are boiling tree leaves to feed their families, and babies are dying before they've even spoken a word. Israel has weaponized food. Say more than I think it was more than 100 humanitarian agencies that have confirmed that the death toll from starvation is now officially in triple digits. But what's concerning is the fact that the real figure may be worse. When you keep in mind that not everyone that has passed away from starvation has been counted. So we asked the question this morning: how did this siege become so total, and who's blocking the food from reaching those who need it? We know who, but I think we need to peel back at the facts a bit to better understand how a humanitarian crisis of this nature can spiral out of control in such little time. And joining us now live from Jenin is journalist Osama Nazzal, who's been tracking not just the hunger, but the politics behind it. Brother Osama, thank you so much for joining us at this very, very critical point here on Salam Media. And good morning.
Good morning, صباح الخير, أهلا وسهلا.
I think let's start with what you are hearing and what you are seeing on the ground right now. You are in very very close proximity to Gaza. What does hunger look like actually on the ground right now, and what kind of impact is it having?
It is the worst starvation ever in modern history, made by human beings, made by state, by the Israeli occupation entity. This starvation that is imposed by the political Israeli system on the people of Gaza is a blow and the slap in the face of humanity, because humanity is silent on such a starvation that is part and parcel of the Israeli war against the Palestinian people, mainly in the Gaza Strip. We are talking about children dying every day. We are talking about women who can't breastfeed their babies. We are talking about old men who can't stand on their foot. We are talking about the Israeli confiscation of the very sense and the very meaning of the dignity of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, knowing that these people are civilians and they have nothing to do with the resistance and with the fight against the Israeli occupation. And all that they need is to live in peace and calm in their own country. But Israel is targeting them in the worst and ugliest way that no state had ever done this to any people on this planet. Israel
Mm,
is bombing Gaza, Israel is starving Gaza, Israel is ending the existence of the United Nations and other humanitarian organizations in Gaza for one purpose, which is
mm,
to kill Gaza children, Gaza women, and Gaza men.
mm, mm. And I think if there's one thing that we keep talking about and we keep stressing is the fact that this is not just another humanitarian crisis. I'm in the continent of Africa. I think famine is something that we all know too well. We know some of the factors that ultimately lead to a starvation of the people, and those include humanitarian disasters. It includes war and displacement. But it is really the case where starvation is literally and deliberately being used as a weapon. Do you agree, and can you confirm that the blockade on water, the blockade on food and just basic amenities and necessities to survive is being used as a weapon, the same way that the bombs that are being dropped on the children and the men and women of Gaza, the same way that drones that fly over them and shoot them and kill them, hunger and starvation is being used in the same way.
Without any doubt that Israel is using all its immoral and ugly methods of murder and killing against the Palestinian people in Gaza, and one of these tools is starvation. And it was predicted really once Israel decided to fight against UNRWA and classify this remarkable United Nations organization as a terrorist organization. The aim of that, behind that Israeli policy, was to stop UNRWA's provision of food and water and medicine for the Palestinian citizens in the Gaza Strip. From that point, it was clear that Israel is going to add to its military machine against Gaza the starvation machine. There is a big difference between the famine, which should not be existent anywhere, that swept some African countries because that is due to natural disasters, to
Mm,
lack of rain, to drought. But in Gaza, we are not talking about a natural disaster. We are not talking about earthquakes or a drought. We are talking about the Israeli systematic and methodic policies that are based on either we kill the Palestinians by bombing them, by shooting them, and burying them alive, or by starving them. And sorry to say that Israel went further in its murder crimes against the Palestinians, taking advantage from the cowardice and the silence of the governments, whether in the Orient or in the Occident, as these governments refused to go one step beyond condemnation and empty and hollow statements. Really, when we look at the official word, because there is a difference here between the public and the official word. When we look at the official word, we see only hollow men who can
mm.
do nothing for the benefit of humanity and children.
Mm. I want to, shift from describing, the symptoms of the problem that we have here and the results thereof, but to also examine the system behind them. There's an interview that I was watching yesterday as I was doing my research and just trying to get the facts and fact checking just the true and lived realities of the people of Gaza. And I stumbled across an interview, ironically, from that was done by Benjamin Netanyahu, and he was saying they are not at fault. They are not the ones that are denying the people of Gaza food and aid. They're saying they do deliver trucks upon trucks of aid to Gaza, but in fact, it is Hamas that's taking all the aid, keeping it for themselves, and then selling it at inflated prices, and then using the same money to buy weapons. Can we dispel that myth as a journalist, as someone that is in close proximity to Gaza, about that aspect, the fact that the IDF and the Israeli pariah state in itself is not of our doing. It is, in fact, the fault of Palestinians themselves, Hamas in this case.
Really, the person who has the readiness and the decision to commit genocide against an entire nation would not hesitate to give lies to the world and would not hesitate to try to deceive the world. But the Israeli occupation Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu understands well that he can't deceive the world anymore, because we see how millions and millions take to the streets every day in Europe, America, Africa, Asia, calling for ending the Israeli genocide against Gaza and criticizing Israel and describing Israel as children executioner state. And this what was uttered by the former Israeli Mossad officer just yesterday on the Jerusalem newspaper. He said that Israel is portrayed as child executioner entity, and it is the fact. So the world would not buy the words and the statements of this genocidaire Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, because the fact on the ground is very striking, really, is very astounding. The whole world is watching the women, the children, the men dying under Israeli missiles and bombs. They see how tens of thousands of Palestinians are buried under the rubble because Israel destroyed their houses over their heads. And Israel is the entity that prevented the United Nations organization's access into Gaza. And there are lines and lines of trucks loaded with food and medical supplies waiting on the Egyptian side of the Rafah crossing, and they can't make their way to Gaza because Israel doesn't allow them to do. Israel that created the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is a deadly trap where dozens of food seekers of the Palestinians are killed every day on that point. So he can't hide the sun in the midday of August here in the summer because everything now is clear, and Israel is really child executioner. Israel is really the entity that stars innocent children and women to death.
Mm, mm. And I want to touch on a point that you briefly touched on, and I think this is very, very important. The GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, this the aid system that has been introduced by Israel is being backed by the US, and Israel in itself. And I think it was when they took over that we started seeing those brutal images of people that were getting shot and that were getting killed while waiting for food in this delivery sites that this GHF has set up. Let's talk a bit about that and how deeply flawed and even deadly this GHF has been, and how that system in itself of delivering, little to no aid to hundreds and thousands of people is in itself means to continue to humiliate the people of Gaza, number one, and number two, to trap them and then later on kill them while they're waiting for food.
Yeah, first, the idea behind the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or the trap set by Israel and the United States for the Palestinians in Gaza. The first aim, first, as you said, to humiliate the Palestinian citizens of Gaza and to trample over their dignity. And the second is to blow the international system represented and exemplified by the United Nations, as this American Israeli organization was founded in order to be a substitute for the United Nations organizations, because since the beginning of the war and even before, Israel was planning and drawing policies to end the existence of UNRWA and all of the international system in the occupied Palestinian territories in order to unleash its hand in killing the Palestinians and taking over their land. So what's happening on Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is really disastrous. It reflects the brutality and the inhumanity of the colonial powers represented by Israel and the United States. If you listen to the stories of the people in Gaza, how they go on foot for long walks, we are talking about kilometers of walks every day at night without a torch, without electricity to get to that point. And when they get there, they don't find food. What they find, the bullets and the bombs prepared by the Israeli occupation forces against them. So it is a real disaster. A lot of stories that shatter the heart and shatter the soul of humanity.
Most definitely. Brother Osama, we often end our interviews with, giving our guests, especially if they're Palestinian, a platform to send out a message to the world, to South Africa, about what we need to understand and what we need to continue to learn about the state of affairs in Palestine. And I'm going to give that floor to you just to wrap it up, just to encapsulate this conversation. How do we wrap it up? What do you need the world to know and understand going forward?
My message is that uh, we don't have hope in any international government, but we have hope in the good people around the world, starting with our friends and brothers and our sisters of South Africa and their government, who filed a case against the Israeli genocide with the ICJ. We never forget your standing and your support for our cause. This support, which did not start during this war, but it extends from the era of late great leader Nelson Mandela. And I want the world to understand that the genocide is not against the Palestinians in Gaza, it's against all the Palestinians in occupied Palestine, the West Bank, Jerusalem. While we are speaking now, my brother, the Israeli occupation forces just last night killed two beautiful young Palestinian children in the village of Al Khadr near Beit Lahem in the south of the West Bank while they were playing football with their friends. They killed a beautiful child, 13-year-old, in the village of Haraba near Jenin yesterday for the purpose of killing. And the day before, killed a beautiful 15-year-old Palestinian child of the town of Qabatia, southern Jenin, in the West Bank. So the Zeli killing machine is uh, against every Palestinian, whether in Gaza or the West Bank. And thank you.
And we're going to leave on that note, brother Osama Nazzal, come to us live from Jenin. Really appreciate you giving us your time, and I hope we chat again in the not so distant future.
Thank you.
There you go. Going to take a quick break. News and views continues after this.